Hello and greetings to everyone. This is Ayya Phalanyani speaking and still preparing because I needed to move because of the internet connection, which wasn't good enough up where I was. So just give me a second to plug in the computer in this new location, our monastery's office. And we can start. Thank you for your patience. And with this, we go straight into our topic, or one of our topics. Hi, Richard, and hi, John. It seems that I'm correct with the time. I'm totally, yeah, I don't know about the time changes. This is, but I think I got it right. And I'm happy to see you all. And we'll just close the door because here I'm nearer, closer to our meditators. So I don't want to disturb them by talking. Okay. Now, even with a cup of tea, all settled. And I'm not too sure whether I already used up some of your patience. I wrote in internet, in the announcement for today, that I would like to talk about a question that arose in regards to the Sutta Majjhima Nikaya number 21, which is the simile of the saw, or in Pali, the Kakachupama Sutta. This sutta is well known for being the reference sutta when it comes to the Brahma Viharas and reference to how we are supposed and how deep we are supposed to practice the Brahma Viharas. And now we want to see how khanti, patience, comes into this and what it has to do with this. You might remember the sutta because we talked about it. And because of it being well known also. And what is not so well known is that there is a simile that is about two women, the mistress Vedehika and her maid, who's called Kali. So this mistress Vedehika was a rich woman who had a maid, a servant, who was called Kali. And this mistress Vedehika, she had a reputation that she is gentle, that she is meek and peaceful and a good person. And Kali, the maid, she had an idea. She wanted to find out whether this peace and meekness and well-behavedness and gentleness would be because she is really over anger. So whether she really has overcome anger, or it is only because she, the maid Kali, is working so well. So she thought she might to test her mistress. So Kali one day got up very late in the morning and slowly went to work. I really can imagine her with what, with a feeling that she had, that she really want to test and tease her mistress. So she woke up late, and when the mistress then asked, Kali, what's up? What's wrong with you? Why are you getting up so late? Oh, she said, there's nothing wrong with me. I just needed a little bit more sleep. So I slept, and no, nothing wrong. And she wasn't really angry, but she was not amused. Let's put it that way. Then the second day, Kali did the same and got up very late and slept in, and the mistress, Vedehika, came and said, Kali, what is the matter with you? Why are you getting up so late? And Kali said, oh, nothing. There's no matter. I'm just getting up late. There's nothing wrong with me. Vedehika got a little bit annoyed and really said, well, Kali, now this has to stop. Otherwise, you will feel some repercussions. Then next day, Kali said, oh, I'm putting it a little bit further and am going to get up again, even later. And she did that. And the mistress Vedehika stormed up, angry, and said, Kali, what is the matter? Why are you getting up so late? And she said, oh, no, nothing is the matter with me. It's all okay. And then she really got angry, the mistress Vedehika, and Kali ran away because she threatened to beat her. And then she finally caught her and could beat her. I don't remember if it was with a saucepan or with a stick, but he beat her, and Kali had then a bleeding wound. And then she went to the neighbors and said, well, look at this mistress Vedehika. She's not so peaceful, gentle, and meek. She was just that way because I was so well behaved and did work so well. So now look at me. How am I? How bleeding? Now what she did to me? I'm bleeding. She beat me. So this story or the simile, I think, is in regards to a question about khanti parami, patience, very, very informative and very helpful to understand what happens when our patience ends? We lose it. And we lose it so much so that we even can harm somebody. So when nothing happens to us, when all is good, we're peaceful, we're gentle, we can be friendly, but then somebody is not behaving to our um, liking, and suddenly, oh, we're in trouble. And this is because patience is so short. So we should really, and I know some people out there are working on that, deepen our patience, deepen khanti parami, widen, broaden, make great, and make it like a base that we can sit on. This khanti parami. Paramis are things that when you have the basic level, it's, well, that of a normal person. The intermediate level would be of a trainee or somebody who really has already worked on it, on that parami, and is in training to become an arahant. And the paramata parami, so the highest level of the parami, would be the one of an arahant or a Buddha. Not all arahants have all the paramis developed, but in an arahant, I assume that they are developed quite a bit. But in a Buddha, he has all the paramis, all 10 paramis that are mentioned somewhere in the suttas, not all 10 together, but a Buddha has all paramis developed to the highest possible extent. And one of the paramis is khanti, patience. And patience is such a basic thing that we learn, or we don't learn right in the beginning of our lives. From the beginning, we might be trained to our patient. I know a lot of people who describe themselves, I am not patient, I'm lacking patience. This is one mistake that can cost a lot the world and ourselves, because we define ourselves whether I am patient or not. It is not for us to define, I am this, I am that. There is either patience or there is no patience. That has nothing to do with me, I, me, mine. Patience is nothing that we can say of or think of. This is I. I am patient. Patience is mine. I'm a patient self. So this is a wrong approach to the thing patience, to the heart attitude, patience. Patience is something that we have to give rise to every single moment. If we don't put it there, then it is not there. it's if we want to think about what patience really is, it is a capacity to wait. It is a capacity to take yourself back out of a situation. It is a capacity to accept things as they are. And it is something that you can implement in the moment when you're about to lose it, like to lose it in anger or to lose your temper. We feel not like we do not feel like patient all the time. It's not that we are patient. I'm looking for words now to describe how we are not a patient or a not patient one, but there is either patience present or absent. And everyone, regardless of character and disposition and customs, can have either patience or not. And whether it comes easy or is difficult for us is a matter of training and not a matter of, yes, I have it or I don't have it. So it's a matter of training. And we take this training into our daily practice. This is necessary to really establish it, so not that it is always there, but to have it available when we need it. It's not something like upekha, for example. Upekha is a mind state, is a chitta. Upekha is something that you achieve by training and becomes your heart. Patience is something that you can use as a first aid kit in everyday life. And the first aid kit that I would recommend how to use khanti parami would be the breath. You used your breath to develop khanti parami. So you sit there on your meditation cushion and you breathe in and out. And wherever you observe it, whether that is in the stomach, which I would prefer, or in the chest, which is also very helpful, or at the tip of the nose, or wherever you want, or even the three together, wherever you observe the breath, you just observe it. You don't add anything and you don't take anything away. For example, still, I have to deal with long COVID, and sometimes it's hard for me to breathe. So when I'm observing my breath, sometimes I notice how the chest is cramping and how a cough wants to come out. So I Just observe that. I could get angry. I could get annoyed. I could think, oh, this long COVID. Sometimes I do think, this is so annoying. But I can only relax and not getting into that feeling. Otherwise, I would, as soon as I start talking, I would start coughing. But when I breathe very aware, I can manage not to cough all the time. So breathing in, breathing out, observing and relaxing. Just breathing in, breathing out. May that be long or short, however it may be, you just observe it. And you don't do anything with it. You don't think, oh, this breath, I want to have it deeper. I want to see it here or in the chest or there. Nothing. You just observe it. And you calm down by observing it. And the more you learn that, the more you practice this little thing to just settle down with your breath and not wanting to do anything with it, just relaxing the belly into the breath and knowing it is relaxed. And learning not to comment on anything that happens during, not to comment, not to react. When you train this, just that simple thing, then you are packing, so to say, your first aid kit for patience. Patience is an anger blocker. It is a blocker for reactiveness. So for once, this breathing, this exercise of breathing in and out and just observing the breath brings you some stillness. You can use this breathing in and out everywhere you want, because everywhere where this body and mind is, this body and mind is breathing, otherwise it's dead. So this is always an object you can go to. And when it's untrained, your breath will define your emotions and your feelings and even thoughts in following after. But when your breath is trained, by this training, you can manage, not control, that never, but you can manage your emotions. Not the emotions are overwhelming you because your breath is going stronger and harder, but you are observing your breath. You have managed, you have learned to calm it down in whatever situation you're in. You have learned to breathe slowly and smoothly, and by that, you can manage your emotions and feelings. So this is one thing, one way how khanti would be developed just by breathing. And another method by just the same thing, by just breathing, is that when you stand or sit and somebody is yelling at you, or you are in a situation where you could explode of anger, maybe, then you breathe and you observe your breath. And there it helps really if you when you observe the breath in the belly, because it gets you more settled. So something is yelling at you or something is happening, and you just go to your breath and you breathe in and out. If that's not enough, you can count to up to 10. And by then, if you have trained it, you are already much calmer. So this breathing method, on one hand, is your first aid kit that you have everywhere with you and can use it in every single moment. And on the other hand, it is something that the longer you practice it, the longer you train it, the better it works on the long run. And the more you get accustomed to go to your breath and you learn to calm down your emotions by just breathing. And then you will be a calmer person in general. You might not have upekkha yet, but you will not be as reactive and as exploding as you might have been before practicing the breathing. There are some comments already. Let me just check whether I'm missing. Tux Anata says, it is about our expectations. Our patience depends on that. I would not say no directly, but I would break it down maybe a little bit more. Where do expectations come from? They come from wanting and disliking, liking and disliking, aversion or hatred, and so greed and hatred, if you want to say so. These two together, of course, with I'm testing your patience too, because today I'm quite mentally not fit, so I'm looking for words. You might have noticed that I'm having a hard time speaking today. So what is the third delusion? Yeah, so greed, hatred, and a third, of course, is delusion. And these three make our expectations. So whatever state of mind where these three are at work, which is not only expectation, but so many different mind states, Mm, all these could be eased by khanti parami. Anger, when you are not able to do some metta practice, some loving kindness. The first thing you need to train is khanti parami. Once you have khanti parami, you can easily put in metta afterwards. But without khanti parami, without the heart a little bit at rest, it might not be possible. There were patient says Tux. Patient comes to suffering and the ability to cope and survive to suffering. Suffering and the ability to cope with it, or better to survive, to develop patience. It's the ability to bear. Well, also, Tux, everything is suffering or leads to suffering. Even the most beautiful moment bears the seed of suffering. We don't want to see it usually, commonly. We are not in the liking, let's say it that way, of seeing the things as they really are. And when we see them as they really are, it turns out they are subject to suffering. So patience helps, but it's not the the quality of heart that in the end overcomes suffering. Therefore, for that, we need other things. Patience is a very helpful tool in daily life. Also, of course, in our practice, really, when it comes to bear up with things like pain in the meditation practice, or pain and suffering because we have a co-worker that is chewing our nerves, or whatever. So there are a lot of moments when we need patience, but to really overcome suffering, we need upekkha, and that is the different story. We shouldn't muddle up this too. Patience, I said, is something that really happens in a very moment. And yes, it is bearing up with things. It is kind of a forbearance. And in the beginning, we need to use khanti parami because we cannot accept these things. The more we train upekkha and transform our heart into really acceptance of things as they are, the less we need to implement khanti into the moment, because there's upekkha. We do not get disturbed anymore. But as long as we are getting disturbed, as long as we are shakeable, we need khanti, because upekkha is not there yet. And yes, bearing up. And for me, very, very importantly, also the aspect of not being reactive. We have talked about it so often. Not being reactive two things. When the telephone rings, we think we need to attend. When we hear our name, we think we need to attend. We always react. We always comment. We always think we're in charge. We always, grasp to things. And that, of course, is disturbing our peace. And this leads to impatience when things are not happening fast enough. And when people are not responding fast enough, nowadays, the young people, if you within 3 minutes you haven't answered, they think something is wrong or you don't like them anymore. This is very impatient. In the times when I was a child, you were writing letters, and it took at least a week for a letter to go from A to B, and then you had to wait before, and you understood that, well, yeah, the other person at the other end, the receiver of the letter, had to ponder over it, and then have to find the time and sit down and write, and then go to the post office and send a letter back. So you, by nature of things, there was more patience in regards to answers, and I really think this time is driving people nuts because they need to be so reactive. So even in this sense, even when you receive a WhatsApp or on whatever messenger you receive a message, you think you need to answer straight away. And if you don't, you stretch people's khanti parami a lot. So also, look in your life. Where are the triggers? What are the things that make me impatient? And observe them to be more patient. Oh, here are so many more comments already. Let me see what we have here. Jessica says, looking for long-run meditation more in control of passing emotions. Wonderful skills. Thank you. Well, Jessica, you can come to see us here in Germany, Ananja Vihara, and practice with us. This is possibly coming our internet, our website. So you're most welcome, all of you, to come and practice with us. Although it's a monastery in Germany, we do speak some English. Facebook user says, what are practical steps to develop Khanti Parami when you are in an extremely crowded place? Basically the same, whether you are in an empty place, a crowded place, or wherever, it's basically the same. You go to the breath and you try to bear up with your emotions that are tormenting you. You know, some people don't like people near. And when somebody like is in a crowded place, they really feel unwell. And other people might bump and push, and this might be really disturbing. So, patience in that sense would be really to focus on the standing. If you are in a bus or in a train and standing, you would be find you you would be looking for a place within your body, your own body, where you can observe your breath, or where you feel, here I'm sitting, or you feel your feet on the ground. And then you go to your belly, the lower belly, or to your chest. And you breathe in and you breathe out. In this case, really, when you are in a crowded place and people do smell, don't use the nose, because then you might inhale the smell more and you might be more disgusted. So go to a place within your own body somewhere, settle down there and breathe. If you count from 1 to 10, or if you notice rising, falling, or 1 every out breath, 2 next out breath, 3, 4, and so on until 10, and then again from 1 up to 10. Like that, you can become focused on the counting. So you do concentration meditation. That is just to bear up with that moment. That is not overcoming your fear of crowded places. That would be a very different practice. But if you are in that situation, then do the breathing. So, even Christopher asked, even we are not practicing, we are still breathing, meaning as long as we are alive, we breathe, right? Breathing itself is an action and basic, fundamental, regardless we practice and not practicing. What are your comments? Well, breathing is not so much an action. It shouldn't be an action. If you ask me, breathing is the most anatta agent that you can find, because you are born and you are alive in that moment when you do your first breath, and you are dead when you do your last, or you did your last breath. So in the meantime, you are alive and you're breathing, whether you want it or not. You can't stop breathing. The Buddha, he exercised a breathing, stopping to breathe, and or holding the breath as long as possible. And you cannot die not breathing. You can die trying, because something happens to you, like heart attack or a blood clot pushing through your system and blocking something very important. So there are ways that you may die stopping to breathe, but these are secondary reasons. You cannot die by holding your breath. So this is important to understand that it is not an action, it is happening. You can manage it a little bit, you can make it longer or shorter on will, but if you run and try to breathe long and calm, it's difficult. So you are not even in full control of your breath. You can just learn to manage it a little bit more, and you can learn to relax with it. But it is also always there, so we can always be aware of our breath. And in that way, we are practicing. We can always and everywhere, at every single moment where we find ourselves in, go to our breath and use it as a way of practice. Especially in a so-called social gatherings where cultural music and yes, dear Facebook user, whoever you are, I am feeling with you. Yes, these are the moments we as ordained people can get away. Like when there's a marriage, we can give a blessing, but when the music starts and we um, we can just and we shall just go. And well, sometimes this is really difficult. I understand that fully. Um, and it's not something that you need to train. I don't think it's very helpful to to overcome those social anxieties. I might be very um, alone with that stance. But you know, if you have the ability to pull out of society a little bit, and if you have the capacity to be alone and not to like music or celebrations or these things, gatherings, then and you are a Buddhist, then go for it. I mean, practice. You might get even a little lonelier. But in the times when you need to attend these things, then use the breathing. That is so important because you need to be friendly. Otherwise, when you are unfriendly and the people are responding to your um, to your fears or um, hardness or so, then the situation might become even more tensed and unbearable. So train yourself to respond to these things with friendliness. Oh, thank you, Richard. That's so kind. Um, uh, yes, I find I'm today struggling to find words, but still, if it helps and you are not too annoyed, you already have a lot of Kanti Parami. So wonderful. Um, any practical steps to handle rising of dislike in mind patiently? There we go a little bit to the overcoming. I said the breathing when you are in a situation like in a full train and you are going to the center of your body and just dwell there and observe the breath going in and out or even counting the breath. That is one thing that you can use as a first aid kit. But then the overcoming of of things like dislike and anger and impatience, that is a total different story. And I think I take this question, although it is not entirely in this direction, but I can take it into this direction. There, to see the rising of dislike is the first thing. You need to see and understand, oh, in this moment, dislike is arising. And you can't see that fully and clearly when you are counting your breath and you fully absorbed somewhere sitting in a train. So train yourself when you are on your meditation cushion. Train yourself to do just the very same, to breathe in and out. Observe the rising and the falling of the belly. Or if you wish, observe the breath at the here, that point, or the chest, wherever you think it is good for you. Observe it there. When it comes to patience, I'm always with the breath in the belly, because breathing in the belly always calms you down right away. It settles you. So you sit there and you want to know, you want to understand how things arise, and you want to see anything arising like dislike or disgust, displeasure, or the opposite. So you sit there, observe the breath. You observe the present moment after a while. So once you're settled with breathing in and out, and you feel like you're sitting there, you have gained a little stability and you're not wavering. Your mind is not running around so much anymore. Then just leave it as it is. Maybe may it think, may it not think. You just breathe in and out, and then start naming it. Name it. Say rising, falling. When the breath goes in, the belly is rising. When the breath goes out, the belly is falling back in again. Sitting, you observe that you are sitting. And then, once you're really stable with that, you open your heart and your mind to observe the present moment. When there's a sound, you say, hearing, hearing, hearing. I'm now hearing there's a sound from the computer next to me. Swallowing, touching, as I'm touching my hands now. When there is a thought arising, you say, thinking, thinking, breathing, rising, falling, rising, sitting, itching, 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 moving, moving, because I noticed I moved my mouth. So and so forth. You note and name everything. This helps you when you do that long enough and you name everything. After a while, you find that you see things arise just when they arise, not only after a certain time. When you are sitting there and thinking for half an hour, you become aware of, oh, I was thinking since half an hour. But in the moment a thought arises, you notice a thought has arisen. When a dislike arises, you know a dislike has arisen. And then you need act proactively to imply patience. But the longer you practice, the more you do that, the more samvega is at work, and you will notice the unwholesome states. You will be able to not let them arise again. You will be able to implement wholesomeness and cultivate them. And until that is so, until that works like samvega will work, once you see how things arise, in that moment you notice there is an unwholesome thing arising, like dislike or like anger. Go back to the breath. It all comes down to this. Always go back to the breath and be where you are. Pull yourself together. Pull your thoughts together, your feelings together. Be at that one point in time. Be no reactive. It can be unsettling, such a helpful discussion. Yes, for young people especially, not being reactive is really a troublesome thing. I can't, I'm old. I'm from that generation who learned writing letters. And so for me, waiting for an answer or waiting to give an answer is nothing. It's normal. But the youngsters are getting mad. So and really, yeah, we are pulling us ourselves out of our centers, and we are unsettling ourselves by always being reactive. We need to learn when to react and how to react. And when we react to everything, then we do never learn. We don't ever learn and understand when it is important to react and when it is important not to react. And they are equally important to understand. There are moments when we shall not react in order for other people to learn, for example, to do things themselves. How can a child learn to do certain things when the mother is always reactive and doing the things for the child, for example? The child can't learn. So, yeah, being reactive and knowing, understanding when and how to be reactive is so important, especially in regards to patients. Facebook, does the tool of internal chanting if Buddha's name to calm down while mind is about to react? Like that, some tips are here. That would also work. You can say Buddha, Buddha, Buddha with every breath, with every out breath. Instead of counting, for example, you can say the Buddha's name, or you can recite um, a verse. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa, or something like that. And when you feel like punching somebody in the face, you start reciting the Buddha's name, or a praise of the Buddha, something like that. Of course, that also will work, but I would suggest that it always is together with the knowledge of the breath. Because if you want really to become patient, you need to master your breath. If your breath masters you, not control, I'm not talking of controlling, mastering, having the means, having learned the skills to handle the breath in a skillful way, so that so that things do not overwhelm you anymore. There are so much more comments. Let me see. For today, this was it. Richard, I was missing the breath when. Okay, I will check the chat and see if there's something that we can talk about next week, some questions to answer next week. Otherwise, I let you know what we're going to talk about, or you have a moment here now to write if you have a question or a topic. Okay, that's it. I wish you a blessed week. May you be well, may you be healthy. May you develop so much patience that nothing can knock you over anymore, whatever that may be. May your practice lead to the final deliverance of suffering. Bye bye, you all. See you next week.